Now, Paul Gascoigne, it seems extraordinary to say this, but this, we are assured is true, has turned up at the location in the street where Andrew has been broadcasting from this evening, or adjacent to that, claiming to be a friend of Raoul Moat and wanting to bring him supplies and other things.
It's July 2010. Thierry Henry has just completed a surprise transfer from Barcelona to New York Red Bulls, while Spain have managed to overcome the Netherlands to lift their first ever World Cup thanks to a late Andres Iniesta strike. However, on the 3rd of July, the sporting back pages would be dramatically overshadowed by shocking front page headlines. A Northumbrian man by the name of Raoul Moat had shot dead one person and seriously injured two others before going into hiding. The harrowing incident would only occur 2 days after Moat had been released from prison, in which he would shoot his ex-girlfriend Samantha Stobbard and her new partner Chris Brown with a sawn-off shotgun, killing Brown and hospitalising Stobbard with serious injuries. The next day, Moat would continue his violent rampage by shooting policeman David Rathbrand whilst the officer was sitting in his patrol car. Rathbrand would be permanently blinded as a result of his injuries. These terrible events would spark the largest manhunt in modern British history, in which around 160 police officers were deployed to the small Northumbrian town of Rothbury, where Moat was believed to be in hiding. The manhunt would stretch for nearly 7 days, with 24-hour media coverage continually speculating where Moat was and what his next steps were going to be. However, on the 9th of July, Moat would finally be spotted in the early evening by the River Coquette near Rothbury with a sawn-off shotgun pointed at his head. The sighting would eventually lead to an intense standoff between Moat and the police in a frantic attempt to save Moat's life. "30 miles away in Gateshead, Paul Gascoigne is watching the live news coverage of the police standoff in Rothbury. A much beloved ex-footballer known for his larger-than-life personality, Gazza had been a central figure in England reaching the semi-finals of both the 1990 World Cup and the 1996 European Championships. However, Gazza's high-profile struggles with drugs and alcohol both during and after his playing career have been well documented, with Gascoigne later admitting that 2010 was a particularly vulnerable year in his battle against addiction. The start of the year had already seen Gascoigne being charged on multiple driving offences in February, whilst only 2 years earlier Gascoigne had been sectioned under the Mental Health Act and survived an overdose in an apparent suicide attempt. Clearly mentally unstable and fueled by drugs and alcohol, Gazza would travel to Rothbury by taxi with the intention of talking to Moat. Gascoigne would arrive at the standoff at around 10:30 p.m, showing up with a peculiar set of items including a dressing gown, a Newcastle United jacket, a loaf of bread, some chicken, a can of lager and 2 fishing rods. As Moat was located next to the river, Gazza would drunkenly believe that he could take Moat fishing in an attempt to de-escalate the situation. However, Northumbria police would sensibly deny Gascoigne all access to Moat despite his pleas to help. Following this rejection, Gascoigne would go on to speak on live radio while still at the scene of the police standoff. Clearly intoxicated, Gazza would ramble through the interview, telling the presenters that him and Moat were good friends whilst detailing his comical plan to help him.
So what you're saying is you want to go in there, you want to help negotiate.
I'm trying to find out where he is without the police knowing. I've got a jacket, I've got a dressing gown, I've got some chicken, I've got some bread, I've got a can of lager, I've got a fishing rod, I've got my fishing rod, and I'm willing to sit down and just shout, "Modi, it's Gazza." Just all I want to shout is, "Modi, it's Gazza, where are you?" And I guarantee he will shout his name out. "I'm here." And me and him could sit and chat, have a little bit of fishing, and all I'll tell him is, say, "Yeah, Modi, listen."
Gascoigne would later state that he woke up the next morning with no recollection of the incident. Following Gascoigne's short cameo, the standoff between Moat and the police would continue throughout the night before abruptly ending in the early hours on Saturday the 10th of July, when Moat would shoot himself in the head following a failed police intervention to unarm him with a taser. Speaking the day after Moat's death, Gascoigne would reiterate in an exclusive interview with the Daily Express that Moat had been a good friend and that he was gutted by his death. Gazza would go on to insist that he could have saved Moat's life before suggesting that the police were somewhat accountable for his death. Gascoigne would state, if you got police surrounding you and putting pressure on you, then obviously he would snap. It would take until September 2010 for Gascoigne to publicly admit he did not know Moat.
Did you know him?
No. I remember we used to be on the doors. I remember a couple of times being on the doors in Newcastle, and I got some chicken, a fishing rod, a couple of cans, and a blanket to keep him warm or something.
Yeah.
The next month, Gascoigne would be arrested on 2 separate incidents of drink driving and cocaine possession, leading to an 8-week suspended sentence, before Gascoigne would finally check himself into rehab. Following a 3-month stint in rehab, Gascoigne would begin to share more information surrounding the Moat incident. Speaking again to the Daily Express in March 2011, Gazza would state that he was not aware of Moat's crimes at the time of the incident and felt guilty over the entire situation. Gascoigne would state, "I thought I could take him fishing because stuff like that had worked on me, but this situation was different from mine. I was oblivious that he had shot a policeman. I feel guilty sometimes looking back because he had shot a copper in the face and killed someone else." 4 years later, Gazza would continue to recall the incident during his theatre tour An Evening with Paul Gascoigne during December 2015. Gazza would reveal that he had snorted 14 lines of cocaine on the night of the standoff, leading Gascoigne to think that Moat was his own brother. Over a decade has now passed since the Moat shootings. However, Gascoigne has continued to regress and relapse back into alcoholism on a number of occasions. At the time of this recording, Gazza is currently sober and hopefully he can stay that way for the good of his health. Whilst this video has been primarily focused on Gascoigne, it is important to recognise the true victims of these events. Rest in peace to Chris Brown and PC David Rathbrand, who would tragically take his own life only 2 years after the Moat shootings. So, what other forgotten football stories and scandals would you like to see next? Comment down below and please like, share and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Thank you all for watching. This has been Football Folklore. Goodbye for now.